So it's late afternoon. I understand that our energy dipped a bit, but not to worry. Our brothers and sisters from Singapore Buddhist Music Hub will return to give us an energy boost. They have prepared 2 songs today. The first one is titled, The Incredible You. Why? Because you're incredible. You're all here to learn how to overcome your challenges. The second song is titled, We Are One. Because just look at everyone coming from all different backgrounds, today gathered here in this auditorium harmoniously, learning, sharing, and practicing together. So ladies and gentlemen, the stage is ready. Our musicians are also ready. Without further ado, let me present to you the Singapore Buddhist Music Hub.
Broken memories keep hampering their minds. It's a long, hard road to freedom before you live up and find. 'Cause you're young and you're free and you're incredible, incredible in my eyes. I see your scars, I see your tears, I see you fighting to vanquish your fears. You've got a pebble in your shoes and a painful scratch or two. But keep pushing on and you'll find the incredible you left behind. It's the choices we made that lead us to an unhappy state. 'Cause the picture you painted has spilled on it of the darkest, blackest deep. It doesn't mean you stop dreaming. Oh, it doesn't mean you stop believing. It's someday you paint a masterpiece. Someday you'll have more than scars, I see your tears, I see you fighting to vanquish your fears. You've got a pebble in your shoes and a painful scratch or two. But keep pushing on and you'll find the incredible you left behind. Open down to see how hard it is to stand again on your feet. Only time can heal. 'Cause you're young and you're free and you're incredible, incredible in my eyes. I see your scars, I see your tears, I see you fighting to vanquish your fears. You've got a pebble in your shoes and a painful scratch or two. But keep pushing on and you'll find the incredible you left behind. causes bitter, fighting, creating divides. We were born of the same wisdom, with the same yearning for love. Why do we shun one another and forsake our dignity? We are one, we love one another, cast aside our differences, spread the love, let it travel far and wide to the corners of the earth, where it shall reside. When we show love, we live in peace.
We live in peace.
When we show love, we live with grace.
We live with grace.
Learning to adapt and accept. Learning to embrace another face. We are one. We love one another. Cast aside our differences. Spread the love on the wings of compassion. May we make a better world, one where no heart cries. We are one. We love one another. Cast aside our differences. Spread the love on the wings of compassion. May we make a better world, one where no heart cries.
Another solid performance from SGBMH. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you are all refreshed and ready to learn some more. We have gone through breakout sessions where we have learned from panelists, speakers, and moderators, and I'm sure that they have given all of us some practical teachings that we can apply in our daily life to change and improve the quality of our life. Now, for our closing panel, we would like to hear from the panelists and moderators themselves, how they have changed their life. Thus, the topic for our discussion this afternoon is how Dhamma changes my life. We will have two moderators for this session. Please allow me to introduce them. First is Dr. Yeo Kwak Kwang, currently an Assistant Director General of NTUC. He was also a Member of Parliament from 1997 to 2015 and President of Consumer Association of Singapore from 2002 to 2017. Our second moderator, Brother Roger Tan, is currently the CEO and owner of Voyage Research. He has written, applied, and taught
a host of finance subjects and topics. Brother Roger has given lectures in various tertiary institutions in Singapore. He is often quoted and made appearances in the local and international media, such as Channel News Asia, Straits Times, Reuters, and Bloomberg, among many. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I'm reading their introduction, you might think that they are distinguished individuals and very successful professionals, but where is the Dhamma? The Dhamma, ladies and gentlemen, is behind their success. Brother Roger is the founder of Bodhi Tree Network, which focuses on organizing events to share the Dhamma. He had also just finished a temporary ordination as a monk in Thailand this last January. Dr. Yo, as a grassroots leader, has been applying Dhamma in his work. He has advocated and contributed to many causes, including workers' rights and workplace health. He is also currently serving as a patron for Buddhist Fellowship Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us invite Dr. Yo and Brother Roger to come up on stage. Give them a round of applause, please. So now that you have a double pair of hands, I'm sure that you will be in a better positions. Once again, I will sign off to the backstage, and I will pass on the time and stage to both moderators. Thank you.
I think at this point in time, can we invite the 4 moderators of the breakout session to stage? Brother Tan Ho Sun, Brother Ng Wai Chong, Brother Jason Goh, Brother Sim Kwok Mong. Can we put our hands together and invite them? My 4 brothers, this is free seating. So depending on your faith, which direction you want to take, they all face the same way. Okay, now everybody is seated. So I would like to say good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There was a friend that I always call, and every time he picked up the phone, he says, "Good morning, sir." So one day I called him at night at about 8 o'clock. I said, "Hey, bro." He says, "Good morning, sir." I said, "Hey, it's nighttime. What do you mean by good morning?" And he says, "Bro, every phone call that I receive is an opportunity like the morning, like waking up in the morning is an opportunity to do something, right? To learn or to experience something. So especially when you call, right, there must be some business for me to do. So I always say good morning to you. So plus we are learning the Dhamma. What do we want to do at the end of the day? We want to be awakened. So let's say to everybody, good morning. The bullshit worked. Okay, I think most of you have gone through the breakout sessions and learned a lot from the different moderators and panelists. But unfortunately, you can't be everywhere at the same time. So I think let's start off with the first question. Can I trouble the 4 gentlemen maybe to do a very quick summary of what had happened in your session today, right? As quick as possible, as just as possible. Right? Can we start with Brother Sim? Yeah.
Oh, I thought I said last. I would be the last one to speak.
You are with Roger Tan, so I always do different things.
Yeah, I think the sharing this afternoon has been a very fruitful sessions. The sharings is about applying the Noble Eightfold Path. I'll call it as eggplant approach on parenting. It is, I want to say that Dharma is everywhere. The moment we are born, we can't do away with Dharma. From the time when you're sitting there, when I'm sharing this discussion, the internal conversation inside you is already Dhamma. So, when in parenting, the sharing was, how do we communicate with our child effectively so that by applying the Eightfold Path as our anchor in a way of our way of communicating with the child so as to bridge bond, to bridge mutual trust. So we use the Eightfold, the mindfulness and all. So the sharing has been very heartwarming, and I would really feel great that the sharing this afternoon have provide helpful information to parents when they take back to really use the Dhamma to communicate with their child. Yeah.
Brother Hosun, can I move you next?
Thank you, Brother Roger. Good morning. Our workshop was for the youths. We have about 150 youthful participants, which stayed awake throughout the 2 hours. Remarkable, very attentive, and very quality, high quality suffering. The questions they asked were pertinent to that age group, and it was handled very well by our 4 panelists, Geshe Yonten, Venerable Shi Chuangguan, Brother Irvin from Indonesia, and myself. And the moderator, Sister Kaisin, assisted by Dika and Tanya, did a fantastic job of summarizing the whole thing. It is how we can strengthen ourselves with the practice and understanding of Dhamma to deal with mundane issues like peer pressure, pressure from the expectations of parents, as well as competing priorities in life. How do we find the purpose of our life? And the summary is we need to be awakened to our true potential by the understanding of Dhamma, so that we are guided by the Dhamma. And that awakening has to do with the development and the cultivation of our mind, because mind is the forerunner of all states, whether we are happy or unhappy. It starts with the mental cultivation, and this is how we brought out the theme of our workshop, Dhamma is my way. Thank you.
Brother?
So I was moderating the session related to aging, and so what we did was we split the 150-odd participants into 3 groups. The first group saw a video recording of an interview of Sister Jeannie, whose mom passed away in May, and how she witnessed the last few days and minutes of the mom's passing, and then recall her life, and then what she learned through the process. And really, I felt it was a very, the mom was 103 when she passed away. It was very inspiring because he was a person who is virtuous and really died a peaceful death. So it really reinforced the strength, of the faith of good death. And then the next video was Brother Go, who shared about his caregiving journey to his mom, who is 96 years old with dementia, frailty, multiple fractures, falls frequently, and having a strong character pre-morbidly. And so it was not so much focus on the stress, but really confront the challenges that we have to face almost helplessly. Like what Brother Go said at the end, he said that it's not like, life is not like something you can switch on and off, like if you want to die, you can just die. You really do not know how long you're going to live. So that was interesting. Then there are a lot of questions related to what if we practice so hard and then get dementia, is all this wasted? So, and the last one was an interview of a lady in her late 80s, 89 years old, is a Swiss American, who was one of the very famous founder of a very impactful aged care service. But she spent, after retirement, 20 years sailing across Pacific Ocean and finally end up in Singapore, and then we knew each other and we worked together for a while. And then she wrecked her knee and then became wheelchair bound, went to a nursing home in Portland, but she fought her way out and now living independently in Hawaii. And she talks about how she lived her days. She wakes up early in the morning, started to paint, learn Mandarin, and I asked her what does she want to do 10 years time. She said, well, she wants to finish her memoirs, she wants to travel, and so on. So, and then her advice to us is that, especially for men, do keep an interest, because when you retire, you really have to do something, So that was that. And then we had, after that we have a discussion when everybody congregated at the big room where we discussed on the impact, the learnings and the questions. And what was the summary that I could think about was something that Dato Victor Wee said very strongly. We have got two wolves, a good one and a bad one. See which one you feed. Because at the last stages of your life, you really can't control whether you have delirium, dementia, or just a plain, just drop dead. I mean, you can't control. So if you have got a good wolf, then you have a very habitual, peaceful death, because dementia can be very long, can be 20 years. And then we also hear from Dr. Ang saying that really it's not the packaging of the religion or what labels you have, it's really the state of mind that's most important. And what kind of state of mind, what kind of good wolf, and that's summarized by Mante Siha when he said that it's really a mind of contentment, of gratitude and loving kindness. And Khenpo brought us through the practice of dying process from the Tibetan tradition, and that was really precious. Yeah.
Thank you. Brother Jason?
Right, good morning everyone. For the professional track, I think we started off with Venerable Ajahn Brahm on how to find happiness at work, because we have got Professor Chu that took us through leadership and the Buddhist values. And we have Brother Yen Lu who talked about being an entrepreneur and how does that, not in conflict with the Buddhist value. Moderated well with Sister Jasmine. And I had the privilege to talk about difficult colleagues at work. And we asked all the audience, how many of you all think that you are actually also a difficult person to work with to start off, in the profession? Yeah. So we went across, a multiple array of challenges that we face as professionals at our workplace on a daily basis. We talk about, staff going for karaoke and, taking foreign guests for entertainment. Is that the right values to follow? Is it against the 5 precepts? We talk about how to find a purpose, in day-to-day life, how to deal with difficult colleagues. And then we also talk about corporate scandals, whether organizations are doing the right thing, for society or not. But to sum up all, I thought, it's easier to put it across, in 3 keywords. First P, on what we call professional fit. Firstly, when we look inward at ourselves, do we really find a job or a profession that we fit in on 2 aspects? One is your own passion. Do you really like what you do? Secondly is really, do you have the skill set to do that work? If you don't have these 2 prerequisites to start off with, trust me, even you've got the best colleague in the world, you've got the highest pay that any organization can afford you, you're going to come home every day feeling tired and unhappy. Right? So that, I think, is something that we start off with, talking about fitting yourself on the right profession first. The second P is really on purpose. Do we know exactly what we're doing day to day in that specific job we're doing? Now, every organization also exists for a purpose. And whether the objective that the organization is achieving, is it also aligned with what you hope that you're doing? The role that you're playing in the organization, the contribution you're making to the entire working community. And at the end of the day, when you get home, having developed a project or any other assignment that's given to you, do you feel a sense of achievement because it fit with the purpose that you actually start off the work with? And the third P is really about people. Now, organizations is just a name, right? But it is the people working together in an organization that create the community and make what the organization is. So it's all about people. From day to even when one of our audience raised about driving innovation and change, how can the Buddhist value or things that we learn, right, help us in managing the people relationship? Do we take the greatest value that we learn from Buddhism about compassion, about empathy, about understanding what the other person at the workplace is going through? Once you put yourself in the shoe of your colleague, maybe it's easier, right, to understand what approach they're coming at, so that we can diffuse a lot of the tension that we face on a day-to-day basis. So we also talk about the reframing of how do we see each other's interacting in the organization, the relationship between a boss and a subordinate. Right? So I think to sum up, we look at the 3P, the professional fit, the purpose of what we're doing at work every day, and lastly about the people that we're to work with to make the daily work an enjoyable one.
Oh, thank you. Well, very good afternoon to all. I think, I was just say, I think this is really afternoon already, so very good afternoon to all. I think among all the participants, Roger and I are the most fortunate one, because we are the two has been tasked to actually go around to all 4 sessions, and we have a chance to actually hear and understand what the 4 panels has actually gone through. So I think I would like to ask the panelists, because in just now what you have shared is very much a summary of what the panelists have shared with all. Maybe good for, actually the best part is the Q&A. And I think definitely there's some very interesting and some very impressive Q&A segment that you all may want to share with all of us. So I'd like to just get all the panelists to maybe just share 1 or 2 key questions and the response from the panelists. This is more the juicy part, because just now the part about summary is a bit drying.
I think one question that came to me was that for the single parents, how do we use the Eightfold Path to help our kids grasp? And the other question I had was that was discussed was about if I'm angry, how do I communicate well while my children is also angry? The focus of the Eightfold Path, that is the pillar that we anchored on. But what is most important is to be mindfully aware of the arising of our emotion. Anger is a normal reaction, it's a normal emotional reaction. But how do we deal with this emotion is really a choice. We can deal it by applying the Dhamma that we know, or we can deal it by responding to our anger. So we let our anger, we respond to our anger in that sense. So it's really about the half the seconds that we give to ourselves to allow the little break for the mindfulness to come in, to allow us to apply the Dhamma, to say, look back and reflect upon ourselves while we are communicating with our child. What is it that we are also talking within ourselves in that part? And that's also part of the application of Dhamma in that sense. So whether it is for intact family or single parents, it applies the same way.
Brother Hosun?
There were lots of pertinent questions, good questions. Just pick one. How do you help a friend who is depressed? And the way which Geshe Yunten has shared with us is to keep them occupied. When they are depressed, then they are preoccupied with negative thoughts. They cannot cross the very little hurdle that they have set for themselves. It is to distract them by giving them some duties or some activities, and not to let them continue to indulge in those negative thoughts. And in the process also, introduce some very basic positivity into their mind, into their thoughts. We cannot just tell them, stop being negative, why not you turn your life around and be positive, just forget about all your problems. That doesn't work for a person who is suffering from depression. But there, a little bit here, a little bit of positivity that we can inject in their lives may start to make them more receptive, may start to draw them out of their isolation and reconnect with the positive values. So this is one very good sharing that we had, because given the high incidence of people who are depressed, or if they are not depressed, then they are depressing to others. So we would like to highlight how to be helpful by being genuine, by being kind, by helping them to be free from additional aversion. Yeah. So our patience and our genuine kindness will be truly helpful to people who are suffering from depression. Thank you.
Thank you. Padang?
So there are a few questions. One of them we haven't quite got an answer, so I'll ask that question to this whole panel. But I'll just tell you some of the questions that we have some answers. So I asked Bhante Siha what is successful aging to the Buddhist, and then he talked about it's actually a mind state of contentment, like having, you know, your hands and legs, you can move, you can still walk around. And then he talks about loving kindness, you know, acceptance, about metta. And he talks about gratitude. And he emphasized a lot about gratitude today. I hear him talk about that. So that is successful aging. That was wonderful. Then I posed a question to Dato Victor, you know, how do you have a good death? Then he talked about the two wolves. Really the gist of it is that if you could cultivate a wholesome mind and you die with a wholesome mind, then you have a wholesome death. And then death is not just once, we have many, many deaths so far. I mean, it's just that we don't remember. That was interesting. And then the question there was someone was posing, because they start to see that there are a lot of people with dementia. How come we don't hear so much of it 20 years, 30 years ago? And then there was this notion that it could be because we live longer, of course, you know, and also the family is shrinking. It's different now, you know, you don't have big families. We don't have kampong that you leave your doors open all the time. You live in small little flats or condominiums, and then your house usually is at 2 kids, and then when they grow up, if you're well-to-do, they'll probably sponsor them and study somewhere in the West, and they may not come back, or that they have to work hard in order to you know, to make ends meet, and they have to work in China, for example, or Vietnam. So it is likely that the aging experience is not going to be something like the past. You're going to be alone. And then, yeah, so that was a question that posed that, is there anything we can do now that the family is changing, that the community can work together? So we haven't quite an answer. So I thought this is a Buddhist fellowship. Maybe we need to tackle this together. And there was one example of, I mean, children all, I mean, some of them have different values, different religions. Of course, it's not about the religion. It's about whether can you, you know, especially last stages of your life, can you still practice the religion of your choice? So how do you do that? And if the family is like shrinking, how can a fellowship come to be? So this is an important question, I feel. We haven't quite got it answered, so I'm posing it open.
Brother Jason?
Well, juicy part of the session, we have many. But maybe I start, you know, we rehearsed this earlier with the session just now. We rehearse now with the audience here. Just by a show of hand, how many of you actually wake up every morning going to work saying that you could make your colleagues happy at work? Right? No, Ajahn Brahm, you know, he was firmly with his hand up earlier. No, but just by that, I mean, it's not abnormal. If very few of us wakes up in the morning going to work saying that you're going to make your colleague happy, then let's be contented. You will never expect yourself to be made happy by somebody else at the workplace. So then why complain that, you know, the workplace is such a place that you know, don't feel happy working at? So maybe that's how we started off our sessions, telling ourselves, do we look inward first before we set expectations of others? And one of the questions that followed on from our session was, how do you deal with difficult bosses? And then again, we also polled the audience and say, how many of you all think that you're actually a difficult person to work with at the workplace? By a show of hand, right? So same thing, right? We went through those questions. And the thing is that a lot of conflicts at work happens between subordinate and bosses. And sometimes they really go back and say that, well, my boss really wants my life. Tomorrow, how great it will be if I can fire the boss. Now, the question is, sometimes, have we ever put ourselves in your boss' shoes? Sometimes, you know, actually among the panelists we talk about, actually it's not easy to be a boss. If you ever had a choice, would you want to manage people? Why do you want to carry the problems that other people have? Your boss, like my boss, is also a human being. He has a family, he has got other challenges. Now, if your boss is more senior, sometimes, like what he says, you know, there are other issues like health issues, expectations issues, and your boss also has his own boss. So he also have got other stress to undertake as well. Now, if you put yourself in your boss' shoe, then maybe you will think about, oh, maybe it's not that great to be in that position. Or you give your boss the benefit of the doubt because you understand why your boss is behaving this way. Sometimes you may just be along the line of attack, or in the line of attack, but actually your boss is not ranting at you. It's just that, it's just that context that he or she may not be in the best mood for whatever reason, and you just happen to be in the vicinity. Now, if you think about it that way, maybe it's easier to get on. Second thing that also came from the question is, if I disagree with my boss, then what do I do? Because they may hold different values. Or we concluded, or we discussed, and we said that sometimes if he's the boss, he still makes the final decision. So until you become the boss, then let him take the decision. There are two things that can happen to you. One is you push your idea a lot, he didn't accept it, the result came back, he's right. Then you better keep quiet. Because if you have pushed yours, then that will be the end of your career. Two is your boss stood firm on his decision, and the result came back, and it was the wrong one. It's also good for you, because the next time, your boss will listen to your ideas more attentively. So I think these are the kind of challenges that we go through every day. Question is whether do you reframe, from point to point, so that you put yourself in a positive position. Another audience also told us is, how do we remove the toxicity of people in the office? So I think Venerable Ajahn Brahm says there's no toxic people, it's just probably the environment that's a little bit toxic. But where did this toxicity come from? It came from anger. So a lot of time over at the workplace, what creates a tension, what creates unhappiness, sometimes come from the anger. And the anger can come from frustration, can come from many different things. Now, the question is, firstly, can we manage the anger ourselves at the workplace? Are you also the most pleasant person to work with? Or if not, then how do we look inward and then subsequently try to understand the other anger that your colleagues may have brought with them to work? Now, we also discussed at our panel that when you are angry, it's very hurting to the person who is angry himself or herself. Now, if you put it from that perspective, then maybe as a colleague, you want to try to help your friend or your colleague remove the anger. Now, if you really extend that helping hand and be compassionate towards them, trust me that that colleague of yours will be your best friends after that. So I think in our context, in discussing, we discuss a lot of things at the workplace, and I think the most important thing at the end you want to focus on is really the compassion and bring the people along with you. Yeah.
I just saw we have 1 minute left. Time flies, yeah. But I'm going to borrow something from Ajahn Brahm. Okay, Ajahn Brahm actually said in one of his videos that I watched that a story that this person went to the restaurant, he looked at the menu, and then he tore the menu into pieces, and he ate the menu and he swallowed. And I was wondering what the hell was he talking about? And then he said, at the end of the day, we go to a restaurant to eat the food, to experience the food, and not to eat the menu. And when we learn the Dhamma, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to investigate, we're trying to learn the Dhamma, we're trying to get the wisdom. So since we only got 1 minute, can I request each one of you, if you will convert what you have done today into one sentence mantra that everybody can bring back? What is that sentence? No? Oh, 1 minute for you. Oh, okay, sorry. So never mind. Then we still go with that one sentence mantra. One sentence mantra. Since now we still got time, can you add one more? With that mantra, what good thoughts can arise from the mantra that we were trying to do? Positive thoughts. Oh, chim. We go with Jaden first. Let's move the flow back to Jaden first. Jason, sorry.
Right. So I just take a fast leaf from the last point that I just shared. I think one thing that we take away, actually the 5 precepts, if you really practice it well, as we discussed at that session, is the discipline, right? So to practice and be a very wholesome person, you really need to have that discipline to follow the precepts very closely. Now, among all the 5 precepts, of course, it really helps us to be a wholesome person. But the one thing is about, one of the 5 precepts about not bad-mouthing other people, actually at the workplace, is actually very, very important. Gossip, people go to the water cooler corner, go to the toilet, you hear chat. Now, so actually one thing that really is really creating that toxicity among relationships. Sometimes all this bad mouthing. So one thing that you take away is you really be a wholesome person, practice the 5 precepts, then stop that. Say nice things about other people, recognize the effort that people have put in, give people a word of encouragement. I think that will really, really help us.
So what's the mantra again?
I would say that the mantra is don't badmouth other people if you want to do that.
Don't badmouth other people. Okay, say good things about other people. Brother?
Okay. Have a healthy respect for aging, sickness, disability, dementia, frailty, and death. And the only thing we can do is to take refuge. And take refuge in what? Triple gem, but in essence, it's really taking refuge in the wholesome mind, which is the good wolf that Dato we talk about. Cultivating a habit of a wholesome mind is easy to say, and it takes a whole life to acquire the skill.
Brother Hosun?
I really admire the Buddha. He could talk for 45 years and we only can summarize it in 1 minute with one mantra. That's his merit and that is our lack of merit. But luckily the Buddha also gave a mantra which is only 1 minute long. And I would use his mantra instead of inventing something new. He said, Sabba papasa akaranang kusala supasampada sajita pariyodapanang etang buddhana sasanang. In essence, what is Dhamma about? It is about abandoning, eradicating all the unwholesome and cultivate what is really good and helpful. But that is not enough. Go beyond that to purify one's own mind. When the mind is purified, one's speech and conduct, like being respectful towards others, respectful towards aging and death, and also don't badmouth. All these things will happen naturally if we remember the Buddha's mantra. So avoid all the unwholesome, to cultivate all the wholesome, and at the same time, don't stop. Go all the way to purify one's mind. This is the teaching of all Buddhas. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Sim, don't sweat too much.
Huh?
Don't sweat too much.
Oh.
It's very cool.
What comes to mind is show gratitude, constantly observing and reflective, and continue to learn as a lifelong learner. Continue to learn the Dhamma. Dhamma has got no last page. You will continue to be learning. That's
Dr. Yo?
Okay, it's okay. I think most of the things that I'm quite lucky because, for example, how I'm going to practice Dhamma in life. And my wife told me, actually, I have to be very disciplined because I have a party whip behind me. and also the same times that actually everyone is watching me. So she thinks that she's quite at ease and quite happy that I can go and do everything that I could under the sun because everyone can see what I do under the sun. Let a joke aside, actually, in fact, I'm very fortunate to actually grow up when I was very young. Unfortunately, my parents' marriage was actually disapproved by their parents. So end up that I actually have to live with my grandparents, and because of that, I have to move from Gorkaki in Beach Road to the kampong in Bukit Timah, then into the one-room flat of Toa Payoh. I'm just trying to do this and say this because also another fortunate factor is that my grandma is a lady who cook bihun in Gong Meng Sua. I think for those who have been to Bright Hill Temple, you know that every 27th of the lunar month, you can actually go there for free bihun and curry chap chai, as what I mentioned just now. But with that, because then when I was young, I was told that actually things may not be what we see and may not actually happen in the way that we try to perceive. And that's to share with you one small story. Actually, until today, I still cannot, at one point, I still cannot forgive myself that one day, in fact, when I heard a little black cat crying outside the door, outside our one-room flats. So I'm going to leave for schools. But when I opened the door and I saw the cat wet, crying, and I think he's hungry, and I think the best way for me to do is to invite it back into my house and make it warm and offer some food. But then what's next? Definitely, my thought was I should hide it somewhere in the house, so that when I'm back to the school, I can continue to take care of it. But when I'm back from school, I think as all of you know, the cat is gone. Then what will happen? A few things come to our mind. First, we felt regret. Why so stupid? I thought I can hide it at home. Definitely my parents will find it. And definitely my parents will throw it away again. That's what we thought, right? But as we move on, then actually, luckily, then my parents actually shared with me that in fact, we didn't throw it away. We actually have to let it go. We have to let it go. Because yes, the point that when you met the cat, it's suffering, it's wet, it's cold, it's hungry. And you have done your part by offering food, offering warmth. And you should just let it be, because actually by keeping it in our house may not be a good thing for the cat. Of course, I don't quite agree, because when we were all young before, when we were young, yes, our parents, whatever our parents say, we believe half, we don't believe the other half. But at least then I will be able to move on in life. Then I realized actually what my parents told me could be the right things. But that's how we always face. We always will face a challenge. Then at the same time, we always think that my way or no way. So I want to share with all is that as I now grow older, what the Dhamma really teach me and changed my life is I starting to accept your way, my way, every way. Because we have to accept it that whether it's your way, my way, every way will lead to the destination that we may all want to arrive at. Then the question comes with another thing that luckily I also have a good elder who shared with me, because I run around in the temple where my grandmother brought me to. Then one day we look at things, I said, how come this thing happened like that? Oh, they told me a lot of factors. I said, then what's the factors? Then, of course, subsequently I understand these are so-called conditions and consequences. But as a young person, I, of course, choose not to believe it and choose not to accept it. You can't, because you don't know. Are all these conditions really already exhaustive? What it means is they have been full consideration. And whether all this is already something that you already put in all your best to achieve. And then why, even I put in all my best, why it still not happen in the desirable way which I wish. But we all now know that we are not staying alone. We are in the world, and we are just only one small part of the world. So just to share with all again, when I actually met an elderly, which she told me, well, what can you help me? I said, well, just tell me what you need my help. Then she said, no, you will not be able to help me, because I have this problem, that problem, all the problems. When I was very, very young, I always felt that if there's something that I cannot help, I was very, very sad. I felt very sad about it. But one thing that actually I luckily has already have it in my mind and rooted deeply is that I told myself, if I have done my best, then let it be. Because there's nothing you can do more. Only recently I actually get this part of my thought verified, because someone shared with me, actually Chairman Mao Zedong has one saying. They say actually in life, we are not only facing problems, because many of us thought that whatever we face are problems. So they told me one story. One day, when one of the general actually rebelled, and actually they tried to throw Chairman Mao out. So they asked, so someone come and report to say something like this has happened. And the response and the reply of Chairman Mao is quite unique and special, which I would like to share with all. He replied by saying that, 天要下雨，粮要降。天要下雨，粮要降。Literally translated into English is that the sky is going to rain, my mom is going to marry someone. So what he's trying to say is that in fact, beside problem, there's something called reality or hard truth, as our wise man, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew say. That if there's a hard truth, it is a reality, then it's not so much for us to solve. So I liked Venerable Chuan Guang just now quoted an example of the carpet. Whether we want to wait until the whole world has been carpeted, or we should just cut the carpet and fix it and like our shoe, that we move on in life. So I just want to share these few examples and say that, well, I think in life, we just have to move on. And good thing for me is because we see too many problems, so I have to quickly solve one and run on to the other. So the last word I want to share with all is that face it, do it, then let it go, move on. I think the problem for most of us is that we have faced it, we have done something, but we are not able to let go, and we are not able to move on. What I want to share with all is that I'm able to actually done so much is because when I try to let go, my experience is that we have to convince ourselves. First, I ask myself, have I done the utmost? Have I done my best? Secondly, have I considered all the conditions, the element that I can actually bring in as the driver? If that's the case, then be the case. Then I believe in what Lord Buddha say, the time is not there. So it's still not yet. Then we just have to wait for the other factors to actually come in. Then last but not least, because we have to move on, because if we lock ourselves into what we have lost, and we think so much about what we lost, then we are not actually focusing on what we will lose next. And in fact, we are going to lose more if we are actually tying ourselves down by what we have lost. Thank you very much.
Do we still have time? Okay. Okay, so let me push one more question to the four of you. Okay, all sweating. Okay, we've gone through a 2-hour session. Or each of you have gone through a 2-hour session. Is there a question or a point in that 2 hours that you felt you have not covered and you want to talk about? Yeah. Jason?
Actually, we don't have a specific point that we really wanted to cover and talk about. But I just wanted to share one more point that I think was brought up by the audience. And I thought it was interesting because all of us face the same issue. And this is with regards to being very tied down by the work, highly stressed. And her question was asking, in fact, she asked it specifically to the 3 laymen panelists and not Ajahn Brahm, is how do you actually get yourself out? And then carry on progressing in the career path that you have chosen. So I think as was shared by the panelists was it by doing meditation, going for exercises just to get yourself out? But I think at the end of the day, the answer that I think the whole discussion took away was you must learn how to focus your mind. Whether it's meditation, sports, or any other way of relaxation that you choose, is a way to help you get away from situations that you feel is consuming you or overly consuming you. Now, one thing that we all must be also cognizant is the fact that no one survives the organization. If you're not there, someone else will take the job. So how much is it worth for you to actually really stress yourself out over situations that's too complex for you to manage? But again, it's easy to say, 放下, let go. Most of the times we cannot let go. So that's why we keep consuming ourselves into that situation. And therefore the practice by focusing the mind on something else. It's that mental strength that you're trying to equip yourself with so that you have the ability to extract yourself out from a situation, right, when it's really undesirable for you to be there. So that's one thing that we thought was one way we thought we want to share with everybody else of how to extricate yourself from the situations that you're feeling very stressful. And we end up that discussion also saying, all of us draw a baseline of how much you want to earn. If you had a job out of passion, congratulations. But most of us are there because you are looking at the salary or the returns that you get in a material way. Now, beyond a certain point, you actually are working for somebody else because you never get to spend the money in your entire life. Right? So once you have got the basic needs taken care of, and the rest of people say sometimes they say they work for passion, sometimes they say they work, all the money is for the next generations or to do other things. Now, if that is the case, then how do you trade off and balance off between what you really need to stress yourself further to earn? Anyway, you're not going to spend that money, right? Then why not free yourself up from being tied to a very fixated environment and then feeling unhappy most of the time. So those are the two things I want to check.
Brother?
Yeah. We didn't have time to cover many of the questions. Most of them come from the group that participated in the breakout related to caring for people with dementia, frailty, and so on. So I just had a glimpse of the questions because the repertoire was presenting. So they asked questions related to these. How do you teach Dhamma to somebody with dementia? How do you counsel somebody with dementia and knowing he's got dementia? How do you support a caregiver caring for someone with dementia and very stressed by caregiving? How does the interview with Brother Goh, he was talking about caring for his mom and he's really frustrated and so on, but he was speaking it such calm and tranquility. So how can he be so calm and tranquil when talking about how paranoid he is over the mother's fall? How do you prepare for caregiving? So there are all these questions. So also those questions related to why is dementia so common nowadays? How are we going to prepare ourselves for it? So there are big, big questions. I didn't pose it at that session because I feel it is more than just a discussion in a panel. It requires action. It requires action. Yeah.
Thank you. Brother Hosen. Brother Hosen, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, I think as usual, given the short time, there are many questions which we did not get a chance to even ask the panelists. But I think whatever had been asked, the panelists did a very good job in answering them. Of course, we cannot answer in detail. So it is in the form of sharing our experiences, our viewpoints, and so on. What we have not covered in our workshop, which you were asking, what we wish could have been covered also due to the lack of time and opportunity, was how Dhamma is not just used to solve our practical problems like preventing pain, preventing pressure, preventing suffering, but how Dhamma can actually help us grow beyond having to always deal with suffering only. I mean, when we look at things, how can I avoid suffering and how can I gain maximum happiness? How can I be successful? But Dhamma actually does more than that. And Dhamma helps us grow. Dhamma helps us be liberated. Dhamma helps us be awakened to truth and reality. So I think given more time in our youth workshop, we would have come into that topic, how Dhamma helps us grow. And don't just think how Dhamma helps us deal with difficult bosses and colleagues. Yeah? Because you will always have to deal with pain, whether it is the pain from external environment or from our own decay, our own aging, our own illness, and our own upcoming death. We always have to face with suffering. But we can also think of Dhamma as providing solutions, not just to deal with practical suffering, but to grow beyond, to have the wisdom to see suffering as only part and parcel of life, but we are bigger than suffering. Given more time, we would have done that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Hosen. Brother Sim.
The one thing that I think the time is short, but there's one thing that we didn't share was to further emphasize the point that the Four Noble Truths in the last truth is actually telling us that there is hope. Life is not about suffering. Dharma is about helping us to see, I would say, suffering in a clearer way, so that when we are able to see suffering in a clearer way, we gain the wisdom to gain hope from suffering. Yeah.
Well, actually, Roger and I try to wayang a bit. In fact, we have still a lot of time. We have about another 15 minutes. But why we purposely do that is because we want them to quickly sum up in a very precise way, so we can really hear what has been actually transpired during the whole 4 session. But let's back to the key topic of the closing session: how Dhamma changed my life. I think it's also important that we now also let all the panelists share with us. Just use one of the live examples to share with us relating to this topic. Now, I think we should not let Roger's job so easy, sitting down there asking everyone questions. So this question will pose to him first.
Okay. I didn't know wayang also kanami. But I think you have heard just now, interestingly, in January this year, I actually went to get myself ordained as a monk in Thailand under the Theravada tradition. And the reason why I did it, I think some people were concerned when they saw my picture that have I done something wrong? Am I repenting? Well, yes, no. But actually what happened was a friend needed to go to be a monk to return a wish. And last minute he said, bro, I'm going to be a monk and I'm alone. Can you go with me? Because I don't want to go alone. And I said, yes. And 2 weeks before Chinese New Year, he said, bro, we are going tomorrow. Right? So I actually went 2 weeks before Chinese New Year for a 1 week monkhood. And I remember one of the most important things when I went through monkhood was when the monk said, before he shaved my head, he says, are you ready? And I said, ready for what? Like, oh yeah, I'm going to shave my head. Right? So then I heard the razor all go on my head, goes, right? Then I said, yeah, okay, now I don't have to bother about my looks anymore because I look handsome, just like Ajahn Brahm. And after he finished the hair, I said, oh, actually it feels very comfortable, very, very cool, right? And then he says to me, are you ready? Because I'm going to shave your eyebrows. And I go, okay, since I already shaven my head, I might as well shave my eyebrows. So the eyebrows got shaved. And I said, good, now I don't even have to bother about how I look, I don't even have to bother how people look at me because I have no eyebrows, so you can't tell whether I'm happy or sad. But the important thing about this whole experience I had was that once we let go of things, the body actually feels very light, okay? Of course, 1 week later, we have to return home. My wife basically tells me, don't go and don't come back, right? Please remember, come back because you have to take care of us. Okay, so I said, okay, so I have to go back. But I enjoyed it. And because of that experience, even though it's just for 1 week, I practice every day, I meditate every day. I take the bus now because I enjoy the 1 hour bus ride where I can do open awareness meditation. I can tell when I'm going to get angry. I can tell when I'm nervous. And I can tell when emotions hit me. And I enjoy all this process. So I think Dharma changed me a lot. And even though it's just 9 months, 10 months, I think most people see the effect. Now I try to share my life experience with people and tell them not to do certain things that I do. And do certain things that I don't want to do. Right. So I think that's how Dharma changed my life. It's still changing my life. Like I told Dr. Wong and yesterday, those friends, I'm not a serious practitioner. I'm a consistent practitioner. I think that's more important.
I think I must also share, or else the 4 will feel that it's not fair. That's what they said just now. In fact, that's just use, for example, at one point when I sit for examination as one examples in life. Because I thought I have studied very hard. So I go and sit for the exam. And after the exam was over, I think as usual, I think most of us, anyone have not sit for an exam before? I think definitely all have. And quite quite naturally, after we have actually gone through the examination, we always worry about the results. Then one day, luckily, I learned fast enough to say that actually, what I can do, what I can influence, is only during the period pre the examination. Anything after the examination, I can't do anything. I can't influence anything. So when we say we let it go, we must be very clear to understand that at the end of the day, if you look at it, the fact is clear that you have done your part, and after that, there's nothing much you can really consider. And just out, I heard one professional was asking the questions about, and people like me also the same times, when all of a sudden, when we are so tired, we want to go and sleep, then all of a sudden, a lot of good ideas come out. I think someone was from the creative industry asking Ajahn Brahm about the questions about what if, you know, there's some creative idea come and then I want to sleep, then I just have to wake up, or what? And I would not want to repeat Ajahn Brahm's questions, answer to these questions. If you want, you must ask him. And I just want to give you my answer to these questions. My point is that if we really have such idea all of a sudden come about, I will quickly jump up and drop it down. But don't try to work on it. If you work on it, then you will have no sleep. Then I tell you, you may not be able to carry through the projects after that. You must remember, we need a good rest so that we can really run the extra mile. So normally now, after one incident of so regret of I forgot the idea that arises before I go to sleep. So I now have a practice that I put a writing pad and a pencil beside my bed. So if there's any good ideas all of a sudden about the problem that I'm going to solve arises, and I also make it discipline to myself. Drop down only 3 lines. Because that's enough to remind us what the idea is. But if you go and work on it, then actually you will not be able to really move on subsequently. So I hope that sharing will actually, you'll find it benefit. Thank you.
Well, I must say that I grew up in a Buddhist family, but never really got close to Buddhism. I only, parents telling you, oh, must do this, must do that. From young, I go to Kuan Ming San, run around like all other kids do. And I'll say that actually, only until I went to London to pursue a degree, I took a philosophy class as a minor. So you learn about the European philosophy. And at the back of this very thick textbook is Chinese philosophy or Asian philosophy, and Buddhism was one chapter. So I started to pick my interest and start to read into it. And also fortunately for me, there was this Fo Guang Sang Dao Chang in central London along Oxford Street. And as a student, weekend, we got nothing to do, so we go there. And I must say that the monk and the nun there really helped to teach us the real meaning of all the scriptures. And else as a young kid, you probably don't understand. You know that the people go for chanting sessions and so on and so forth. And to me, through that experience, when I graduated from London, came back home, the interesting thing was I started to be able to discuss Buddhist philosophy with my mom. And she still teaches at Kuan Ming San now in the Saturday, Sunday classes. So I would say that actually that transformation from just being, following your parents to learning a subject yourself. Also to realize that actually Buddhism is not a religion. In fact, it's a philosophy, it's a way of life. And one thing that I really embrace it because you can learn all the theories, you can learn all the philosophy, you don't practice, then actually you can't call yourself a Buddhist. And today, there are many different precepts and things that we learn. I would say just to fundamentally get ourselves really following the 5 precepts. I'm not there yet. So every day we're just reminding ourselves, are we disciplined enough to follow the precepts? To always remind ourselves to come back to the fundamental of the 3 poison, right? The Tan Sen Ci, have not even got out of that yet. So if we learn it and yet you don't practice it, actually it's meaningless. But if you really practice it well, I think then we'll benefit from it. So I would say that is really what really helped me a lot. in growing up as a person or even in the professional way we work. So I think that's what really transformed me. Thank you.
So how has Dhamma changes me? Simply put, it answers the question why and how, and actually also what. So many of my friends who know me in medical school and as a medical doctor and all that knows that I was a drifter. I drifted into medical school because IOCC was too tough and they can disrupt from NS if you go to medicine. So that's how I ended up in medicine. And then doing medicine, just having to pass and exams and so on, and then wasn't very inspired until sometime in 1999 when I was really down. I was in Medical Dhamma Circle. I think most of my doctor's friends are not here. We have a very vibrant medical fellowship there. So we were there and then debating, arguing, doctrines by Madhyamika and then Yogacharins and then the Theravadan and all that. So very good in theoretical Buddhism, but it didn't quite work for me until like 1999 when you're really down. And that's when I went for meditation practice and retreat and so on. And so now looking back, no longer drifting, it's become steady. Why? Because there's a purpose. Like, what is all this for? What am I working for? Why am I keeping healthy for? Why do I want to live long for? What is life for? It has a purpose. And then, so it sort of gives you a reason to do certain things and not do certain things. And then when you understand dependent origination, you also know why are you like this? Why do you have these hobbies? Why do you have these characteristics, this personality, this, and so on? It traces back beyond these lives even, from the past, all the habits just sort of continue. So it answers all the question why, which is very, very important now that I'm a physician taking care of people who are aging, demented, dying, frail and all that. Interestingly, I'm not sure whether should I share this, but I recently heard from a colleague from a government agency that they did a survey among Singaporeans above the age of 65. Surprisingly, 75% says that they don't find meaning in life. So, and then as a doctor, when you tell a person to take a certain medicine and they don't want to take, and then you accuse them of not being compliant, don't listen to you, maybe you are barking on the wrong tree. Actually, it's very important to really have a sense of purpose, and so the Dhamma gives me that, from forward, the purpose, and backwards, which is, why am I like this? So no longer feel proud, no longer feel so ashamed. I mean, not always no longer, but sometimes you still feel proud and feel ashamed and all that. Defilements are there, so you can be comfortable with it. It's not an arahant, of course you have conceit, right? So it's fine. And the what is like, it's becoming very, very clear. It's just this, it's just mind and matter. It's just like this, It's nothing to be proud of, nothing to be ashamed of. Most important thing is this clarity, this, you have to protect this mind state. And then, so that has changes my life beyond words. Yeah.
Before that, is this the last question or is there another round?
You answer this and you'll find out.
If this is the last round, then I want to request for extra time for foreign talent. In the opening session in the morning, we had all foreigners and one local content, yeah? One local talent, Venerable Chuan Kwan, but now it's the reverse. You see, life ultimately is fair. How Dhamma changed my life. I don't want to talk so much about myself, but since this is the big word there, then forgive me for doing so. How Dhamma changed my life, I would say, tokang kane kane, little by little from time to time. It didn't give me a very huge change. Suddenly get inspired, suddenly what you call overcome big crisis. But if we practice Dhamma consistently, it will have a great effect. And every day when we make choices, based on the principles of Dhamma, is going to alter the course of our life little by little. By certain degrees, even if by just 1 degree every day, in 3 months' time, we will find ourselves, instead of traveling north, now we are going east. So this is how Dhamma changes, at least in my own experience. In fact, if without Dhamma, I would have fainted yesterday evening. When I arrived at Buddhist fellowship, I was informed by Sister Yin Yin, Brother Tan, you are part of the closing panelist. I was invited to come to do the youth workshop, but I wasn't informed of this. But when she said that, I said, okay, boleh. Yeah. Foreign talents have no say. The flight on the way to Singapore, we were almost landing yesterday afternoon. Last minute, I saw the runway lights already at the end of the runway. And before the plane landed, suddenly it pulled very sharply upwards. Very sharp pull. And everyone was very quiet. The gravitational force was very great. Everyone was pushed back to our seats. And then when it stabilized, the captain said, sorry about that. There was encroachment on the runway. It's a very serious incident. But I experienced that also a few months after the disappearance of MH370, as well as MH17, the double tragedy we faced in 2014. I was on the way back to KL on the Malaysia Airlines, and the plane shook, and there was a lady behind, suddenly stood up, and she shouted, "We are going to die, we are going to die." And 2 stewardess ran from the back and said, "Lady, madam, sit down, buckle up, sit down." And it shook further. She said, "I told you we are going to die." The senior stewardess said very firmly, "Madam, we are not going to die." And the lady said, "How do you know?" And the stewardess was stunned. How do we know? Really, how do we know? After 2 incidents, couldn't there be a third? But I noticed the whole drama besides. I also saw the Dhamma, how it worked. Hey, how come I'm so calm? I'm not enjoying the situation, but I'm tranquil about it. Am I afraid of death if we were to go down? When I reflected like that, I said, no, I'm not. I have done what I need to do in this life. There could be more that I can do, but I've done enough, both good and damage. And I'm not afraid to die. And yesterday was the same thing. And without Dhamma, perhaps I would be suffering just like other beings. Sabasang piyang jivitang, sababayanti machuno. All beings love life and fear death. Maybe there is some fear inside, but on a lot of levels, we are settled, we are more peaceful, we are more contented. So through years of being exposed to the practice, I live a very contented life. And when people come to me and talk about stress, I can relate to that because previously, I think all of us have that. And I can also share with them how to overcome that. If you have no obsession over desires, and you have to fulfill your desires in Singapore, a lot of peer pressure, a lot of social pressure, a lot of agendas, a lot of slogans. We need to be rich, we need to be successful, we need to be productive, we need to be efficient, we need to reduce wastage and everything. So there was a lot of pressure built up over our educational years and in our careers. But if we can really live a more simple life, don't be obsessed by desires, then it wouldn't give rise to the proliferation of thoughts. The proliferation of thoughts give rise to worries, anxieties, fear, and depression. So little by little, appreciate the Dhamma, put it into practice. Don't just worship the Dhamma. Don't just say, I take refuge in the Dhamma. No declaration is needed. Just live the Dhamma. And then our life choices, day by day, will alter the outcome, the destination that we take in life. Imagine, Dhamma is portrayed like that in the Bala Pandita. Bala means fools. Pandita means wise. Pandita, the Pali word, means this. When you come to a crossroad, a T-junction, which is the right way? Left or turn right? If at every juncture, when you make a decision in life, and you pick the right direction, the right turning, then you are called a Pandita. Literally, Pandita, the wise, means one who chooses wisely the right choice in life. Bala, the fool, on the other hand, means one who only breathes in and out. One who lives without wisdom, without being guided by the principles of Dhamma. Just breathing in and breathing out, you still survive. So if Dhamma were practiced properly, in the small choices, to say or not to say, how to say it, to do or not to do, how to do it best, in all these choices, it will manifest. And because of choices, there are consequences. And our life, consequentially, will turn out very different. Our theme today, CAKKA, is a wheel. A wheel, when we first turn, all religions are more or less the same. We talk about kindness, talk about truthfulness, talk about morality. But if we were to make a full turn like the Buddhas and the Arahants, then we go beyond just avoiding evil. We go beyond just being good and doing lots of good. We develop a sense of awareness, a sense of enlightenment. In Chinese we say, 不是离去恶性，而不是只是培养我们的善性，而是要有一种的悟性 a sense of awakening, of knowing, of being aware. Now this is how we turn the CAKKA full circle. So don't just start pushing the CAKKA, but we have to turn it one whole circle. And then we can see the benefit of Dhamma in our lives. So in Singapore, you are an island. But I want to recommend you this. Be an island in this island. Ata dipa viharata atap atisa. Live with the Dhamma like an island. So surrounded by people who are stressed, who are pressured, who are pressuring you, have faith in that Dhamma, and it will end up well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Locals have the last say.
Yeah, okay. What changed my life? Dr. Tan already said. Okay, I'm slightly more than half a century old. So what Dhamma has changed my life? When I was much younger, I used to be a very angry person. Before I worked as a counselor, a certain part of my working career, I was with the EODs. So when I approach a job, each time I can choose to be panic or I can choose to be just stay calm. So the Dhamma had taught me to be more aware of my inner thoughts, more aware of my own emotion, more aware of my fear. Have I totally removed myself by anger? I want to thanks to my wife. She is sitting down there somewhere. She is my mindfulness prompter. So without her, a lot of times I do get outbursts, but she'll just do a prompter and say, hey, stay calm, don't get angry. So I'm really fortunate that she's my mindfulness mentor, and Dhamma allowed me to see things a lot more differently now. And I learned to be easy, to be an easy person, learn to be simple. I think that it's part of the law of attraction, right? Yeah. So learning Dhamma is, I would say, living in the Dhamma is also learning in living the law of attraction. We get attracted to others, and we attracted others into the Dhamma too.
Actually, the question that Dr. Tan asked, whether we have any more questions further, I will say the decision is not lies with us. Actually, it's with the audience. But of course, as the chairman of Migrant Workers Center, I'm not supposed to let the foreign workers suffer. So I think our practice is really, as the view go, it is really a marathon without an ending point, and not even at the end of our life, or this life. So I think we can't try to finish everything or try to learn everything by today. I think that's also then a message to our brother Wilson, that let's have CAKKA 2018 or whatever. I'll let Roger round up.
Okay. Brother Hosun, good news. That was the last question. Okay. Ultimately, I think I want to thank Brother Wilson for allowing me to be here together with Dr. Yo. Of all the Dharma practitioners you see down here, I am the least experienced. So I think Brother Wilson took a big risk on me to sit up here and moderate this whole thing. Right? I think he's regretting now. But before we end, I'd like to share something that I recently read on Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh's book. I will try to say it so that it makes sense. I remember he says, when you look at the sea, and as the sea moves towards the shore, you see waves forming. Now, if you stare at the wave and think if you are the wave, as the wave rises, we will see that the wave is getting happier and happier as it becomes higher and higher, because it sees itself as the wave. And as it approaches the shore and it breaks, it starts to feel unhappy, because that is the end of its life. So when the wave rises, he sees I arise, and when it falls and it hits the shore, he says, I'm gone. But if you take a deeper look, or if the wave were to take a deeper look at itself, it has never arisen and it has never fallen, because deep inside them, or deep inside the wave, he is water, and the water never changes, right? So ultimately, where are we going after in CAKKA? In what we saw in the panel, in what the venerables have shared with us, is wisdom, is insights, and we need to explore our deeper Buddha nature. So I think hopefully we will end this session, and hopefully we will gain that at the end of this session. Thank everyone here, all the venerables, Sir, Wilson, all the panelists. Can we give a round of applause? MC too, yeah. But before you go, there's an important thing I need to tell you. We are not ending this session. We have just started turning the CAKKA wheel, right? Like what Brother Hosun says. It is not something that we come, we rah-rah, we are happy, we push it away, we go back and we forget what happened, and then we wait for next year and then we try to remind ourselves again, right? Good news is that I think all of you have been given a goodie bag. And in the goodie bag, there are information of all the organizations inside there that you can approach if you want to continue your practice in the Dharma, if you want to talk to people, you want to get more information, right? So that goodie bag is not just paper inside, it is a lot of resources, knowledge, and help inside there. So don't take your bag and go home and throw it one side. Take it, put it on your table so that whoever needs to use it and whenever you need to use it is there. Okay, with that, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Thank you very much to our closing panel. A good morning indeed. So may I request for both moderators to remain on stage and for our panelists to return to their seat.
May I now invite the project manager of CAKKA 2017 Executive Committee of Buddhist Fellowship Singapore, Brother Rudy Susanto, to present tokens of appreciations to our moderators. Thank you once again to our closing panelists. They are such an inspiring and insightful speakers, aren't they? It's such a shame that we are only able to attend one breakout session today. Just like Brother Tan said, we really do need some more time for our foreign talent. But ladies and gentlemen, we are very fortunate today to have 4 graphic artists to contribute and create a summary of our breakout sessions, as well as our opening and closing panel discussions. They say a picture represents 1,000 words, 10,000 words maybe, I forgot, 100,000 words. So today I would like to present to you the creation of these 4 graphic artists. May I call in the volunteers to present the summary of our discussions as well as our workshops. So, ladies and gentlemen, these beautiful pictures are made live while the workshops themselves are ongoing. The opening and closing summary, as well as the professional workshop summary, is contributed by Brother Alvin Lee. The elderly or the silver generation workshop summary is contributed by Sister Chu Shu Sun. The youth workshop, the summary is contributed by Sister Jun Yao. For parents workshop, the summary is contributed by Sister Wu Jun Lee. Ladies and gentlemen, let us give all of these artists a round of applause. So now, please, for the artists, please return to your seat, as well as for the volunteers to return backstage. Thank you. These pictures will later be showcased in Buddhist Fellowship, and they will be shared via the social media. So, ladies and gentlemen, after a very meaningful day today, we are almost at the end. So I would like to invite again our chairperson of CAKKA 2017, President of Buddhist Fellowship Singapore, Brother Wilson Ang, to deliver his closing address.
Well, good morning and good afternoon. In fact, the thanks must not go to me. The thanks should go to all of you, because I'm so happy to see that the auditorium is almost full. When we started planning this workshop, we were wondering on the Sunday, starting so early in the morning and lasting to the end of the day, will we occupy your attention? And I'm very happy that all our distinguished venerables and our Dhamma teachers have shared many wonderful and very inspiring stories. And we wanted to make this whole forum something very personalized and very contextual. And it is made possible because all of you ask many wonderful questions, regardless of whatever category you're in. And it is all the participation that bring this whole forum alive, filled with lots of energy. And you can hear from today's participation, all the vibrancy and the insightful answer. When we try to make it personalized and contextual, it occurs to me that it's all about relationship. Whether is it with our families, with our friends, at work. It is all this relationship that bring the contextual aspect of it come alive. And we talk about many aspects of this relationship. And Brother Tan Ho Sun put it quite well earlier just now, that if one purifies our mind, one small step along the way, it really will blossom the relationship rather than turn the relationship the other way. If I have your permission, I just want to share with you one little story. I think as we purify our mind, it just doesn't come like that. And I want to give thanks to my venerable here who taught me one very important lesson. To begin purifying your mind, it starts with having compassion to yourself. Because in any relationship, whenever there are difficulty, as what you have heard today, we always tend to look at the others. But if one begins to have compassion with oneself, and with that compassion, you overcome the anger with yourself, then you begin to see the pain and suffering of the other person that caused the tension in the relationship. So with that, I want to thank every one of you who took the entire Sunday to be here. I want to personally thank all the venerables and the Dhamma lay teachers for my persistent chasing after you to be part of this forum. And I really appreciate the time. Some of them come from far away to be here with us so that all of us can benefit. Right? So thank you very much once again to all the volunteers who have been with us the past 8 months. There's so much fellowship and bonding, regardless of what aspect of the work. I want to thank all the various organizations. As what Brother Roger said, today is not the end, in fact, the start of your journey. If you want to find out more, there are plenty of resources that you can continue helping you to turn the wheel of your practice. Of course, you can come to Buddhist Fellowship, but Buddhist Fellowship is not the only place, right? There are many temples, societies in Singapore, in Malaysia, neighboring countries, that you can continue to strengthen and learn the Dhamma. And may all let us do it together, right? So that we all benefit from it. So I'd like to thank you once again for spending the day with us. Sadhu.
So ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived at the end of CAKKA 2017. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to wish everyone success and smooth sailing in your Dhamma journey. We would also like to take this opportunity to give thanks to all of the Venerable Sangha members, to all the volunteers, donors, sponsors, panelists, teachers, speakers, moderators, and all of the participants that have participated in this wholesome Dhamma event today. We would like to also seek forgiveness if there is any offense caused by any intentional or unintentional conduct in any part of this event today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I would like to wish all of you, may you all be well and happy and have a pleasant evening ahead.